Welcome to our few moments together on the Parsha. This Shabbos, we have the privilege of reading Parshas Shelach here in Chutz La'aretz. Now, the famous event that took place, of course, was the event of the spies that went to scout out the land and brought back a report. When they brought back a report, they started out by saying, and they told the Jewish people, and they said it in front of Moshe, the pasuk says, Banu el ha'aretz asher shlachtanu, we came to the land you sent us, v'gam zavas chalav u'devash, and it is also a land that's flowing with milk and honey. So what they started out saying was absolute truth. In fact, Rashi says at the very beginning that every lie, and they said many lies, but every lie, kol dvar sheker, anything that's a lie, she'ein imo ktsas emes b'tchiloso, that doesn't have a little truth at the beginning, ain't sofer liskayim. You won't be able to get that lie across. You got to say a little truth. So they said the truth. The land is flowing with milk and honey. That gave them the claim to credibility. But then they went on and said a whole litany of reasons why it will be impossible to capture that land. And they gave all kinds of logic. They said the nation was Am, Az Ha'am, Hayoshev Haaretz. They were powerful nation. And the cities are fortified to the hilt, and we're not going to be able to conquer it. And they gave many logic, and they went on telling all this logic. When Kalev ben Yefuneh, one of the two, Yoshua and Kalev, when he wants to quiet them down, it says, Vayas Kalev es ha'am el Moshe, that Kalev quiets the people to Moshe, Vayomer, and he says, Olo na'aleh v'yarashnu osa. We're going to go up and we're going to possess it. We will go up against them and we will be victorious. We will possess the land. Now, the Hachodesh, the Piasetz Nerev, Hashem Yinkom Damav, that great Reb Kleinimish Kalmish, the Piasetz Nerev who taught in the Warsaw Ghetto and was ultimately killed by the Nazis, Yamach Shemam Zichram, in one of his drushes on Parshas Shlach, despite the fact that he was in the middle of the destruction that took place in our century, in the 1900s, less than 100 years ago, he taught this pasuk, and he asked the following question. When Kalev was faced with the logic of the Meraglim, fortified cities, powerful giants, unbelievable, impossible to conquer, what was his response? We're going up, Olo na'aleh v'yarashnu osa. We're going up, we're going to be victorious. Why doesn't he talk logic to them? They're not so fortified. We have things that can break fortifications. They're not as powerful as you think, because if they were more powerful, they wouldn't need fortifications. We can beat them. The cities are not that impenetrable. They're not that big. No logic. He doesn't argue logic. He says, we're going up, and we can be victorious. Says Reb Kleinimish Kalmish. The Hachodesh says, this is to teach us that not only when you can offer logic, and your logic could be impeccable, and you can convince by virtue of your logic the truth of your argument, but when it comes to something Hashem promises, when it comes to something Hashem said you're going to go into the land, dispense with logic. It has nothing to do with logic. The victory of the Jewish people in conquering Eretz Yisrael is not at all dependent on logic. In fact, you could say that the continued existence of Klal Yisrael, despite all that has been thrown at us, defies logic. There is no historical logic or paradigm that the Jewish people fit into. We have defied all logic and survived despite the fact that we're few, weak in number in many ways. But we have our bitachon in Hachodesh Baruch Hu. Says the Parshas, the Rebbe, that's what the Jewish people need to be successful. An unabashed, clear claim of faith, security in Hashem's promises, that is what brings about the victory of the Jewish people against all odds. We're facing unbelievable pressures. There's no other member state of the United Nations that wants to declare sovereignty that anybody is going to complain about. There's no other state that has the finest record of human rights that is vilified continually by the host of nations known as the United Nations. And the Jewish people individually are always beset by people who seek to cause them trouble and to destroy them. How do we manage to exist despite all odds? We have Kolev's statement as proof, says the Parshas, the Rebbe, and he was in the middle of the Shoah, and he said all logic dictates that we will not survive. But the fact is, wounded, yes, but we survived. And with our faith intact, with our bitachon and emunah, that the Parshas, the Rebbe says, is the foundation of the existence of the Jewish people, we will continue to survive and defy all odds. There is no nation, no people, no power that is capable of destroying us, as long as we have our complete bitachon and yiras shamayim and keeping of the Torah commandments. We'll be fine. That is the lesson of Shelach-Lecha, according to the Parshas. Let's take that in mind, and let's use it as a source of pride, a source of hope, a source of faith, and a source of continuing on and never, God forbid, giving up on anything, because ultimately that is the secret of the survival and the continued vibrancy of the Jewish people. Here comes a new Chodesh. Let's hope and pray that this Chodesh brings about Chodesh, renewal for all Klal Yisrael, under any and all circumstances. The Jewish people have that emunah. That's why Kolev said, no logic. Let's just go and do what's required. Have a wonderful Shabbos. Stay healthy. Continue to take good care of yourselves and keep that bitachon and emunah strong. Olo na'aleh v'yarashnu osa. We are going to go up. We are going to possess. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us a promise. Shabbat shalom u'mevarach.